Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks. Carsons Lambo is showing up again. It's being used as evidence. The attorney cited the car.
Got the evidence. Put the evidence in the car. Put the evidence in the car.
I'm not a bit surprised by this. I knew it was coming. When Carson Beck showed up with that $300,000 Lambo, everybody knew they were going to talk about NIL, pay for play, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really surprise anybody that an attorney used that as evidence that NIL's out of control and it's pay for play and all of that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this story's in Tuscaloosa News by Chase Goodbread. It says, NCAA rules on NIL have always been a joke, but now they're even funnier in court. It says, on Tuesday, Knoxville News Sentinel staff went to Greenville, Tennessee, and it said they reported some muffled laughter in the courtroom. And we'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you a few things that they reported on. But let's talk about Carson's vehicle. And this reporter said, I'm reporting some decidedly unmuffled laughter in my house, said the Tennessee State Attorney's Office, in pointing out to Judge Clifton Corker that amateurism is a bygone notion in college sports. And he pointed out that Georgia Bulldogs quarterback Carson Beck is now wheeling around in a Lamborghini. Beck clearly is laughing all the way to the bank. And he's not the only one with Lamborghinis. There's a bunch of those out there. I believe the Colorado quarterback got one, and I think a wide receiver that transferred from Alabama to Texas got one. If you're a five-star or you're some big dog in college sports and you're not driving a Lambo, you're missing out. And then it talks about how this could affect, really, it's going to affect every single team in the country, not just Alabama. It says the ramifications could impact perhaps permanently every athletic program in the country. So let's see if we can pull all these chuckles together. Yeah, this will affect everything. This is the biggest case in the history of NCAA football. And I've said that from day one. There's nothing bigger than this. This is going to be pay for play, and the judge is going to decide it. And it's going to wind up going to the appellate court, and then it'll probably go to the Supreme Court where it'll get smashed. The Supreme Court told him straight up, said, bring up another one of these cases like this because we're not satisfied with just the NIL, the little small part of this. We want the whole enchilada.
Well, then you better bring it.
So NCAA is kind of seeing the handwriting on the wall. And let me show you some of the things that Adam Sparks of Knox News talked about along with Tyler Whetstone. And here are these two reporters. Now, this gentleman right here is Adam Sparks, and I am a fan of his journalism. He's really good. Honestly, he did such a good job with the whole Jeremy Pruitt NCAA thing, and he went to Cincinnati, Ohio, and reported back. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins some awards for that. He's a very good journalist. I'm not as familiar with Tyler Whetstone. I've heard of his name. Probably a good reporter, too. But Adam Sparks reminds me of he could be another Jimmy Himes, and that's a big compliment. But anyway, let's see what these fellas have to say. Again, they're from Knox News.
For the Attorney General side, said after the Gators, meaning Florida, after the Gators, the Vols are next. In other words, NCAA investigations into NIL, first at Florida, now at Tennessee.
That's huge. Man, if you're Florida Gators, you're sitting over there going, man, I hope they win this injunction. I hope they win this case. Because it sounds like they're going to hit Florida first and then Tennessee. It's just Tennessee jumped in front of them. They jumped the line and said, oh, no, we're having the first crack at them. And in Florida's like, you go ahead, knock yourself out. Fight them first, and we'll finish what's left. So I thought that was a really interesting line y'all needed to hear. All right, now this next bit right here, they're going to talk about how the NCAA attorney acted like he didn't know what investigation they were talking about. He played dumb.
You're not allowed to speak, but there was a little bit of a giggle that I picked up on, certainly from where we were sitting, when the NCAA attorney mentioned that he knew nothing of an NCAA investigation. He didn't know of anything of one leaked. He didn't have any information on it. He could not confirm or deny that there was one. I mean, KnoxNews.com, he doesn't have a subscription. If he did,
is he Baghdad Bob? Did they hire Baghdad Bob? I think they did. There's no army coming down this street at us right now. Man, that's the way attorneys do. Anything they don't have to admit, they're not going to. They're going to play that game. Everybody knows the NCAA's been there, already putting their nose into all this stuff with the whole ride that Nico had with a jet, bringing him to Knoxville. I guess I said, I guess he was supposed to hitchhike, which is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. But for the attorney to act like he has no, I mean, it's just, anyway, that is funny.
did, he would know that there was one going on. But I thought that was interesting that he cited the fact that, you know, I don't know what's going to happen at UT. I don't know why they're arguing that NIL, any of these rules could hurt UT, because I'm not even aware of an investigation. Yeah. You had a little chuckle over that, right?
There's a small bit of chuckle. And he also got a chuckle from me later on when he seemed to kind of mess up some of the rules with the NCAA. The judge kind of went back and asked him specifically about a couple of different rules, and you may be able to explain a little better, but as it relates to NIL.
Yeah, I'm going to show you this next part, and that'll kind of let you understand what Tyler was talking about.
The past 2.5 years since NIL has been allowed, and the judge asked the NCAA attorney, sort of, can you explain the difference in, so first off, you're not allowed in NCAA rules to negotiate what your NIL value is going to be. You can't go to a school and say, you know, this school is giving me $100,000. Can you guys give me $150,000? You can't do that. That's not allowed. But you can engage in conversations about NIL, and you can investigate what your potential value would be. During the hearing, the NCAA attorney tried to make this distinction, and the judge, forget how he said it, but it defies common sense in how you're trying to distinguish between these two. So,
yeah, basically they can't explain something that's ridiculous. How can you try to figure out what you're actually worth if you can't talk numbers? And the judge obviously thought that was ridiculous and absurd. And their attorney, he couldn't answer it because everybody knows it's stupid. Everybody knows they're talking about how much money they could get. And here's the thing. If he doesn't give the temporary restraining order and everybody's sitting there wondering and worrying, especially the players, how are they going to negotiate because they have no leverage? Because if you can't say, hey, I've been offered $100,000 here, you know, what can I get here? Then you're not going to get your top dollar. You're not going to get anywhere close to it. So not being able to negotiate is absurd, and I think the judge basically poked a big hole in that and kind of just waltzed through it. So I did want to show you that. I knew the Carson Beck Lamborghini was going to get pulled up somewhere in this case. I had done a story on it before, and some of the Georgia Bulldogs fans got upset with me. It's like, you can't parade around in a Lamborghini with money you got for staying there at Georgia, and nobody's going to point it out when the NCAA's coming after one of your teams. And like I said, Florida's first, Vols are second, and then I'm sure there's many teams after that. And I think the NCAA is chastened right now for that attorney to act like he doesn't even know what the investigation is, or is there one? What's there? Are you kidding? Yeah, why are you there? Why are you in the courthouse, knucklehead?
Hello?
Of course there was an investigation. So who knows? Maybe the NCAA's backpedaling right now and going, you know, this isn't going so well. Maybe we ought to not go after them so hard. What they should be doing is helping the kids get the best deals with standardized contracts and things like that. If they went down that path and protected student athletes, I think people would accept it and you'd be able to put some rules in. But if you're going to be this ridiculous, well, you can have money, but you can't talk about the money. This is not Fight Club.
You do not talk about Fight Club.
All right? The NCAA must think it's Fight Club. It's not Fight Club, morons. So anyway, I did want to talk about this a little bit, and I definitely wanted to show you the Carsons Lambo evidence because I knew it'd be brought up in this venue. It had to. I mean, come on. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover all these NCAA issues, my Vols, the SEC, and all kinds of other big news stories out there when it comes to college sports. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Hit this little button. It'll help you get my videos. It won't cost you a dime. And right over here's the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.